Welcome to a new show. Today we have with us Mr. Vikas Shirodkar, who is a HR by profession. So let's get to know him. Welcome to the show, sir.
Thank you.
I would like to ask you about how you went into HR as a profession.
Sure.
And about your professional background.
Sure. I am a humanities arts student. My passion was actually English literature. So I wanted to be a professor of English literature, do my BA and MA in literature. But somewhere down the line, through some advice, I got into psychology and I did my MA in industrial psychology. After that MA in industrial psychology, again very serendipitous, not a planned move, but I landed up in IIM Calcutta, and there since I had done psychology, I chose to remain in the HR field and I did a fellowship over there. Fellowship is actually 2 years of coursework and 2 years of thesis. So I completed that. So I am a HR person by accident, very frankly, because I wanted to be an English professor, but I ended up in management. But after having reached there, I found HR as a very exciting field. Every day was a new story, every day was a new issue. So I thought, look, this is a nice field to be in, and because of my psychology background and my management, I chose to remain in the HR field.
So one more thing I would like to ask is, have you thought of labor law going into HR?
Sure. I come from a generation where Datta Samant and a lot of industrial relations, strife, fights, maramari, actual murders in the plant. I myself have seen and experienced. Okay, so that was the type of environment which was there on Thaneweb road. You would be aware of Datta Samant and the whole closing down of all the factories. So that was the environment in which we were in HR. Okay, so HR was highly oriented towards industrial relations, which is the union management relationship. So labor laws was very much a mandatory thing for every HR person. He had to have an understanding, because in the factories especially, and I worked in the factories in both Siemens as well as Johnson and Johnson. So sort of, what you are saying, labor laws was very much required knowledge.
Have you conducted any programs for recruitment for any companies, for especially graduates?
Yeah, okay. So I worked for Siemens for a very long time, 12 years. So campus recruitment, my main exposure was over there. But even before that, my first job was with HCL, Hindustan Computers. So computer industry, continuous recruitment is there. So recruitment is something which one needs to understand and be able to handle in a proper way. So one has done a lot of recruitment. The related question which I would answer is that, I have, as Basil HR, when I started consultancy, we have done a lot of programs for different companies, including Raymond's, for example, or National Dairy Development Board, of how people should go about selection. There is a technique called behavior incident interviewing. So that is basically helping you to get very rich objective data about the person. Normally when you interview a person, everybody tells you that he is the next coming of the Christ, right? And nobody says that I have. So how do you really get behind that facade, understand what has been his actual contribution, how he does. So this BEI is a technique which is used for interviewing. So I have trained a lot of managers in terms of using BEI technique for doing the right recruitment.
And how is the reaction of those for whom we have recruited? And do they take it positively, or do they have some negative reactions about the candidates?
Okay, see, most of the times any new candidate, there is an adjustment period.
Yes.
It's like a marriage, right? When a new girl comes into the family, there is always a period of adjustment. So it's something similar. Any new candidate, any new incumbent into any organization takes a little time to settle down. But good organizations, like L&T, with whom I work for a very long time, 10 years I have been doing consultancy with them. They have very powerful induction programs. When a new person is coming in, how to ensure that he understands the organization and you help him to perform in your environment, because your environment is different. So this situation, initially there is always a little bit of a gnashing of the gears, if I may call it that. But then with some issues in terms of understanding, induction, people start becoming more comfortable and they work together well. So it's been a good, successful sort of recruitment programs.
Even the candidate is new to the environment and they need to get adjusted to it.
Yeah, true, very true. Absolutely correct.
So you mentioned about Basil HR, your company. Can you tell us something about it?
Sure. See, I retired after 34 years of working in industry. I superannuated from General Motors. And I had two other friends who were also based in Thane. So they were one Ramchandra Rao and one Mahesh Godbole. They were also retired HR professionals. They had put in 25-30 years experience in HR. So they were the ones who thought, why don't we start a consultancy? So one thing we decided is we will do consultancy, but we will try to give our knowledge and experience as a help and support to other organizations. हमको धंधा बनाना नहीं है. We don't want to create a big organization, something which we will pass on to our next generation. We really wanted to help and support organizations. So from very small organizations, including NGOs, to large organizations like Novo Nordisk or L&T, we have been working. We have a clientele of 35-40 organizations. The good news for us is that all our customers are repeat business. Like L&T, for example, last 10 years, we started in 2015. From 2015 till today, we are working with L&T. Most of our clients are people with whom we have long-term relationships. So that is, and the joy was, we have never told anybody ki we will not work with you because you cannot afford our fee or anything. We have never made money as the main criteria. If the work is interesting, we will do the work regardless of what they pay us. But if the work is not interesting, we will not do the work even if it is paying very high. So that is the principle we have followed in Basil.
So basically you want the customer to be delighted from your service.
Absolutely. And that is where the repeat business comes in, right? Because this is a consultancy, is a field where it is word of mouth. And what work you have done, have you been able to make a difference for that organization? If that happens, then that organization will come back to you. So you're right, customer delight to some extent is what has driven us.
Yes, the word of mouth part is a really thing which drives business.
Yeah.
So what kind of specialty you provide to any of your clientele?
Yeah. Okay.
For example, L&T.
Sure, good question. One thing we took as a decision from the beginning, all three of the partners, we said we will not get into recruitment. Okay? Because we believe that in HR, recruitment is the lower end of the work. And mainly we will be able to, where will we get our clientele from? We know people in organizations because we work with them. Those people we don't want to pull out from that organization and put in. So we said no recruitment. Okay? So that normally when you say HR, people typically understand employee engagement, which is all this fun and games and activities, picnics and Rangoli competitions, or they think payroll, or they think recruitment. Now all these three things we said we will not do. What we will do is we will do the serious part of HR, which means talent management, learning and development, helping organizations and people to be more effective, helping them to sort of make strategic plans and career plans for their people, so that today people turn over a lot.
Yes.
How do we retain people? What do we do to see that their careers are planned, they have a confidence that if I stay in this company, I will go far. So processes which are around that is what we do. L&T has, for you asked about L&T, has a huge HR department. बराबर? तो हम क्या करेंगे बाहर से जाके? What will we do? What we do is we help the HR people to do their job in a more effective manner. We develop processes and systems for them. For example, one of the challenges L&T has, they are taking fresh engineering graduates and they are putting them on the shop floor as supervisors. What is their qualification to be a supervisor? Only an engineering degree from a good college. But there are inside L&T, there are workers who have put in 25, 27 years experience. They are very, very skilled fabricators, very, very skilled welders. तो वो कल के बच्चे से क्यों सुनेंगे? You know,
they are much more talented technically than the one who's recent graduate.
Supposed to be his supervisor. So one challenge which L&T told is, how do we get these young supervisors to establish a good rapport with the workmen and be able to get work from them? So we created a program, residential program, where we said some workers, some staff and some managers will all stay together and they will really try to understand what are the challenges which are there and how to best handle it. So that sort of a thing. So that is not something which normally the HR department would do. HR department will recruit the person and tell him, "Acha, bhai, now you sink or swim." So our role is to help that person swim, give him skills and capabilities so that he becomes a more effective supervisor. That is one example I could tell you. Or National Dairy Development Board, the mother organization which creates all the milk cooperatives. Amul is the first spin-off from there. Mahananda in Bombay. So in NDDB, they had a very big leader called Verghese Kurian. He is called the father of the milk revolution in India. He is the one who has made India self-sufficient for milk. Okay, he was a stalwart, great man. He created a culture, created an organization, but now he is not there. There are some people who were trained by him personally. So now NDDB's challenge is, how do we see that culture which Dr. Verghese Kurian created and with whom some people were face-to-face experience, how do you take it forward? How do you ensure that is not forgotten?
How do you continue his legacy forward?
Correct, absolutely. So that is what we are working on with NDDB. How do we create that continuity of the culture which was there under Dr. Kurian? And we do it through sort of lot of stories about Kurian, lot of actual practical examples of how they solved problems, so that the youngsters understand this is the way to be in NDDB.
So sir, human is the most important resource in any kind of business, any kind of company. How do you make any resource increase the productivity at that level, given it being a small company or a big company?
Sure.
How do you consult a company to have a HR policy?
Right. See, fundamentally, this is very important point which you have raised. It's called human resource. Okay, the very word resource. And I always tell people that HR, human resource, is the only resource which always appreciates.
Yes.
It never depreciates. If you have a machinery and equipment, over a period of time that will be depreciation. But human beings are the only one who will continuously learn and continuously be able to up their game and perform at a higher and higher level, right? But they will be able to do that if you have the right processes which encourage them and support them. I think that is the contribution of HR, right? Big organization. I worked for multinationals, okay? Johnson & Johnson, General Motors, Siemens. They have huge HR departments, but everybody is not so fortunate. There are SMEs, and large part of Indian economy is run by SMEs and medium scale organizations, right? they don't have that sort of HR bandwidth. But if they need to get the best out of their people, it's not, HR is not that just one person or one designation. It is really a thought process.
It's a mindset.
It's a mindset. How do you really create that mindset that you are important to the organization? Your contributions are very much important. They are recognized and valued, and they are rewarded, and hence you should continue to contribute to the organization. So in one line I have covered many points, but each of these points can be developed in terms of a process or a system, and that is what organizations need to do. Even small organizations which may or may not have a HR department as such, they will have to have that mindset that they will engage their employees positively. They will see to it that they are recognized and rewarded. They are able to contribute and give suggestions and ideas, and they get a fair due. They should get decent salary increases and everything. So that is what is the challenge of HR. And smaller organizations, in fact that was one of the ways in which we started. So we work with some very small organizations like Intiva. There is an organization called Intiva in Pune, Chakhand. It's a small organization which does OEM supplies for car manufacturers, in terms of door closure or window closure and all that. They are not a very large organization, but then what they have one person coordinating, but then we go in and we give them ideas and suggestions, create processes and systems, create personal manuals and documents, and help the managers also to understand. Because HR is actually like a movement, it's not one person's job. Every leader has to accept that he is first and foremost a personnel officer, a human resource officer. He is responsible. Any shop supervisor or even a purchase department who has got 5 people working, he is first and foremost responsible to those 5 people and seeing that they are able to contribute. So creating that mindset amongst all the managers in the organization is where a consultant can help and give suggestions and create processes and systems which then the organization can take forward. So that is how I think this becomes a top of the mind thing which helps the organization.
You can say that HR is like a liaison between the management and the workforce.
Very true. Yes.
Helping the workforce work effectively and getting what they get.
True. And they have to be the middleman, really, the person who's talking to both the sides and seeing that they come to a joint understanding. One thing on Thaneweb belt, when I was working in Siemens, one of the things I used to tell the union always, Karkhana jagla, tar kamgar jagla.
Yes,
which means if the factory survives, then only the worker will survive. Datta Saman proved it negatively, right? But on the Thaneweb belt in Siemens, for example, which had very difficult industrial relations situation, but then we were able to work with the unions, work with the employees in such a way that we started creating positive bonds between the management and the workmen, so that they were ready to accept lot of new, because continuously the world is changing. Machines, equipment are changing, productivity needs are changing, competition is driving a lot of points. So employees have to change. So they will change only if they have that positive mindset, and that is, I think, the main contribution of HR, to help people understand what is the way in which the world is moving and how do we move forward in that way.
I just wanted to ask you that transformation of HR over the years, how it was when you started as an HR and to the current situation.
Sure.
How HR has developed.
Sure. See, this is something, it has transformed totally. You use the right word, transformation. It's not a change, it is a complete transformation. Initially, HR began as salary and timekeeping and record keeping, that sort of a thing. But today, HR is accepted as a strategic partner for business. So many organizations have HR directors who are sitting in the main management committee where business decisions are taken, and that change has happened gradually, okay, but fundamentally it is that whole thing has also been accelerated possibly because the complexion of the workforce has changed. Yeah, earlier you were talking about manufacturing places where workers were uneducated or very little educated, and most of the things, even the supervisors were just diploma engineers or somebody who has grown through the ranks. From that now you have very qualified. Most classic example is the IT industry, right? India has become the back office for IT for the whole world. You see that caliber of the people who are there. They are all top class engineers coming from very good institutions, and hence to deal with these people, HR has also had to change. They have had to learn new skills. They have had to talk a different language. That is the change which has happened. And today, what the HR is doing is really more in terms of career planning, succession planning, then learning and development, grooming people for getting into the newer jobs, so mentoring or coaching or those sort of things. These were unheard of 30 years ago when I started, okay? But now I have had to undergo a course, how to be a good coach, and I have started doing coaching. Or in terms of learning and development, I do a lot of training for new supervisors, for middle level managers, how to manage the qualified workforce. So this change which has happened in the workforce has driven the change in HR, because HR is finally a support. It's like a bridge between the employees and the management, and hence HR has had a significant change in that. And fortunately for us, I would say the change in supervision has meant a little more learned, little more aware management. So to just summarize what we were talking, today the language of HR has changed. The content of the work that they do has significantly changed. So talent management, learning and development, thinking in terms of succession and careers. This is why it is happening, because the people are also now become very, very clear what they bring to the table, right? In IT, typically nowadays we hear that, it's very difficult to retain. Very good quality employees are short supply. Talent is literally, McKinsey coined the word, but it is a very true. There is a war for talent. Good talent is not available. So if you get good talent, how do you retain that talent? That is the new role of HR, which is why they have had to change their game totally to really start thinking about these activities which will ensure that the employees are retained and engaged and contributing their maximum to the organization.
So we are talking about learning new technologies and how HR has integrated those new technologies. For example, AI, how that has helped HR work productively.
Sure. See, if you talk of technology, I would, before coming to AI, I'll take one step back and talk about the ERP platforms which came in. Like SAP began as a ERP platform for business, but they have a very, very vibrant called SAP R3, which is their HR module. PeopleSoft was a very, very famous ERP which was helping HR to really do their job very well. So this was the first change which HR saw. So what used to be a lot of paperwork, a lot of files, lots of records being maintained, that started coming online. Appraisals started happening online. They started getting loaded into the PeopleSoft system or into the SAP. Reminders which would go automatically. The tracking would happen, analysis would happen. So that was the first major IT change or technology change which HR had to handle. So that was a huge step ahead, and that systematized the work of HR. You had to follow timelines, follow processes very, very well. So that was the first change. Now this recent thing which has come in terms of AI, I think this is going to again totally change the work of HR. Yeah, because with AI, this is basically a tool. It is supposed to basically help HR to do their job better. Yeah. So what used to be a lot of records which had to be maintained or things which you had to analyze and look at, all those analytics, all those reminders will all be done by AI. AI would also, there are many organizations I know where they have bots who are actually simple queries like what is my PF balance, what is my leave balance. You don't need to go to an HR person. A bot will answer that for you. So this sort of things have started happening. What it means for HR is we will have to up our game again. Same old Vikas Shirodkar of 30 years ago cannot survive in today's times.
Yes.
Yeah? He will need to learn new skills. He will need to understand things differently. He'll need to know how to use AI in the most effective manner to do his job well. So which means his own learning has to also improve, and AI will be a very big game changer for them, because otherwise HR was really about paperwork and all that paper is going to disappear. It will be done online and in a much easier and systematic manner.
Talking of AI, recently we have heard that in big companies, when people apply, when they send their resumes, their resumes go through AI scanning. So can you elaborate a bit on that?
Sure, right. See, that is today unfortunately in India we have such a huge unemployment situation. You post a job on Naukri or on Monster or you put an ad, you will get multiple thousand applications. Those out of the 30,000, 40,000 applications, more than 20,000 will be trash. They are not fulfilling your requirements, whatever you have written in terms of qualification, in terms of experience. But everybody will just put in an application. Today HR used to spend enormous amount of time, not spend, I would change the word to waste. Used to waste enormous amount of time in going through those CVs and finding out what is suitable. These new platforms are helping them do that very well. They will screen through, AI will actually look for keywords, look for what are the criteria which we have laid down. Are these resumes fulfilling that criteria? If not, just keep it aside. And you will get out of that 30,000, you will get 300 or 400 resumes to look at, which is a huge change.
Yes.
And then you will become more effective because you will be able to scrutinize. When you have to look at 30,000, you can spend hardly less than 1 minute on each one of them. Now you can concentrate, you can look at it deeply, and these tools are now very easily available and cheaply available. It's not very prohibitive. So any organization can use these sort of tools to be able to screen through applications.
So also now people have cracked the code. They know that AI will be selecting a specific keywords.
Yeah.
How do the HR tackle with that? When there's a guy who's not skilled enough, they just put some things on the resume, which makes the AR selected.
They are not selected, they would be shortlisted.
Shortlisted, sorry.
And after that, then that is where then when you are looking at those 350, 400 CVs, you need to go into depth, because that's where, so I would say one thing, you cannot expect or assume that that platform or AI will automatically select people. वो नहीं होने वाला है. You will require human intervention. You will require an intelligent person to look at it more scrupulously and decide on which are the ones which are worth interviewing. See, in recruitment, you have to remember one thing. Recruitment is always relative. Okay, it's never absolute. It is always who's the best of the amongst the people who have applied. That is the one who should get the job. That is a judgment call finally. And that judgment will have to be done by people rather than by IT platforms.
So however we say, machines can't replace people. After recruitment, the next thing comes is induction.
Yeah.
how important is the induction program in any of the company, and what makes it difficult when it gets delayed?
Yeah. See, induction, what is the purpose of induction? Fundamental purpose of induction is to marry that new incumbent with the culture of the organization.
Yes.
Get him to understand the processes and systems, rules and regulations, and help him move it in a smooth way. It's like getting into a swimming pool. You can either splash a lot of water or you can do a dive and smoothly enter the water. Induction helps you to enter the water smoothly. So it is very, very important to have a very good induction program. In fact, there is a lot of research which shows that the best organizations have a very vibrant and a strong induction program. It is quite sad. I also know this because I am a practicing person, that many times induction gets delayed. That's not good, because by that time the employee has already entered the system. He has heard different versions, because everybody, and unfortunately negative speakers are more than the positive speakers in any organization.
Yes.
So he has got some stories, he has heard some reports and something, so his mind is already vitiated. What is induction supposed to do? It is supposed to help the employee feel, I've joined a good organization, this is where I can make my career and I want to continue over here. That is the basic purpose. Hence, whichever organization I work with, I am very adamant and I make it a point to tell them that induction must be done as early as possible. How can you do it? See, part of the induction is processes and systems and rules and regulations. Those can be done offline. That need not be done face to face. You don't need to put people in a classroom and do it. That you can load some modules, send him some links, let him do that. You can check whether he has actually gone through it or not. Has he understood it or not? You can actually test him on that, right?
Yes.
So you should do that part. So remove that part. That leaves only the culture piece. That cannot be done online. That has to be face to face. So keep culture induction, cultural induction, so that the person understands the values of the organization. He knows who are the senior leaders who are there. He gets to know his team in a better way and understand what they bring to the table. Those things should be kept face to face, and then you can have a small 1.5 day induction. My recommendation to my organizations is always to let anybody not wait for more than 3 months for going through. Okay, it's not practical to have an induction program every day.
Yes.
That's not possible. People are joining all the time. Keep him, but next 3 months he should undergo a formal induction program. And if you do that, again, research has shown that that helps you retain people much better and helps you create the confidence in the employee that he has joined a good organization. So no gainsaying the importance of induction programs.
So once inducted, even the candidate should feel like he's the part of the organization.
Absolutely, yes.
We have seen recently in news that Infosys, they did a induction program. They made their candidates appear for an exam, and on the day of joining, they were informed that they haven't passed the exam and they were let off.
Yeah. See, I don't know detailed facts of the case, but if you understand,
how can this be solved?
Done in a better way, right? See, unfortunately, you have to accept one thing, that the environment is changing radically. Okay, you take interviews and you make offers in the campuses 6 months or 8 months before the person is to join.
Yes.
In 8 months, many things can change, right? We have to accept, be practical about it, and we have to accept that. However, how to handle that can be done in a better way. You know, like famous case of Jet Airways, where they just let off people, thousands and thousands of people. That is not the way to handle it. That is where I think we need to be humane. You know, I have a phrase I tell people when I am addressing HR people: don't forget the human in human relations.
Yes.
Right? You have to continue to remain that your focus is human. And how would you feel if you were treated in that way? Never treat anybody else in any different way. So how do you do it in a better way? We have done it. Siemens, we had a situation where we went and interviewed and selected people, we made them offers, and 8 months down the line when they were to join, by that time Siemens had posted 1800 crores loss. 1800 crores. So naturally the management said, we cannot take all these engineer trainees. What we did is, we called those people at our cost with their parents to the nearest major city point. The HR director and me as the human resources person, we traveled to 40 locations in India, talked face to face with the families and the boys. Look, this is the problem. Because of this, we are sorry, but we cannot let you join, because join करके आपको यदि काम नहीं दे सकेंगे, that's not of any use, and no commercial organization will do that. At least we gave them an explanation. We also set up a system where Siemens paid a outsourcing agency to find jobs for them. Okay, so that is the human part of it. That is what I think is missing in some of the examples that we hear. But again, we don't know all the facts, so it may not be fair for me to comment. But you can do it. See, difficult decisions are a part of life.
Definitely.
How you convey them, how you implement them is in your hands. You have to do it with that heart.
Gracefully.
Yeah, gracefully and with the heart.
So you have been staying in Thane for several years now.
Yeah.
So what is the thing that you like about Thane?
Okay. I have nearly 15 years I have stayed in Thane now. And what I find is Thane has changed for the better. Earlier what Thane was, in terms of that Ghantali and the narrow lanes and all that has changed. Lots of flyovers, it's a very vibrant community today.
Yes.
It's a very vibrant, and lot of what I love about Thane is lot of greenery, lot of open spaces still, and that is the beauty. And the organizations which are there, fortunately most of the manufacturing places have moved out, whether it was Color Chem or this thing, and now you have a very strong backbone of IT professionals, which is a very environment friendly industry. It is not sort of polluting or anything, and that is the beauty of Thane. I think it's been, so I love Thane, definitely.
Which is your favorite go-to place in Thane, where you like to go and hang out with your friends or family?
Sure. I think now that new big garden which has come up, which the Prime Minister...
Grand Central Park.
Yeah, Grand Central Park was something very, very beautiful. Otherwise, incidentally, I stayed in Thane long ago when I was in the factory in Siemens. And that time, the one place which was very favorite for my wife and me was the Talao Pai. It was, even at that time it was lovely, even now it is lovely. Just to walk around that place is very nice and this thing. And I'm a Saraswat Goan, so I'm a foodie. So the type of food alternatives which are there in Thane, I think it's amazing. You get every type of cuisine and at every price point. So you can really have a good meal and enjoy with family and friends.
Thane, we could say it's an inclusive community for each and every person that comes in Thane or stays here.
Yeah.
So let us conclude the show. Thank you, sir, for joining us.
My pleasure. All the very best to you. Thank you.